Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. Sam, I hear they're hiring in Columbus.
Are they now?
I hear they're hiring in Columbus.
Oh, is Randy out of a job?
I mean, he might as well be, right? I
Eh,
mean,
a little bit. Just because it's a 12-team playoff, there's still some hope because they're going to be in. They also get an extra week of rest because they are no longer playing in the Big Ten championship.
they sure aren't. That's a positive.
So, in a
That's
weird way, you could make the argument that losing to Michigan was a good thing.
no, it's not.
I know, but
Good thing. It's an objectively bad thing. This is the first time he's lost to Michigan and they've been unranked.
hmm he's what, 1-4 in his 5 years?
Is this his fifth year?
It's either 1-3 or he's only won once. Let me look.
No, this is his fourth straight loss. I thought this was like a sixth year, though.
Let me look.
I could be wrong about that. I don't actually know for sure, but you're right. He is at the very least 1-4 against Michigan. Um, but this is a bad one. Michigan was I think 6-5 going into that game. Ohio State was number two in the country. It shouldn't have been close. The only reason Michigan won is because Ryan Day was like, "We're gonna run the ball. We're
Mm,
gonna run the ball down their throats because we're better than them." And it's like, dude, your offensive line is riddled with injuries. Like they didn't have anyone healthy on that O line. So they just couldn't run the ball. But he kept trying. It's like, come on, man. Like, I get that you're a high level coach, you got a chip on your shoulder, whatever. If you can't run the ball, just don't run the ball.
he is 1-4.
One of
He was
four.
hired in 2019. They've played 5 times since then. They did not play during 2020. He's lost four straight.
Well, they would have beat them during 2020 had they played because Michigan was terrible that year.
hmm But nevertheless, 1-4.
Yep. Uh,
Um, I think this Ohio State team's just way too talented to not have a shot this year. Like on paper, this team is arguably the most talented team in the country.
I mean, they're definitely up there, especially because I don't think there's like a dominant. I mean, there. It's not like I don't think there isn't a dominant team this year.
No, there really isn't a runaway team.
Yeah, like the best team is probably Oregon, and that's just because they haven't lost. You know, like I don't think anyone thinks Oregon's like a world beater this year. But
Nope. They played close to Ohio State. Um, so
yeah, but
we'll see.
I saw some people in Columbus uh, clamoring for Ryan Day to get fired now, and for Chip Kelly to be named the interim for the.
What a move that would be to go from UCLA to the interim head coach of Ohio State.
Look, it's not going to happen. But if that were to happen, and he were to actually have success in the playoff, whether they win the championship or not, the job is his.
Oh yeah.
Like he, all of a sudden, he's the head coach of Ohio State,
Yeah.
which is a pretty good gig.
It is a sweet gig to have.
But I mean, it's like, what else is there to say about this? It's just such a team.
hmm
And if they don't do well in the playoffs, is he fired? Because I saw, and again, I want to preface this one with like the source I saw it from was not actually that reputable, but or at least I couldn't verify it as being reputable. But I saw someone tweet out that the boosters at Ohio State weren't willing to pony up for the buyout.
Buyout.
Yeah, which is like 37.
I I think with the talent that he has and the expectations for Ohio State, I think he has to get to the national championship game. Maybe he doesn't have to win it, but he has to be final two to keep his job. I don't think making it to the semis will work. I don't think winning one game or winning, he has to win two games. He has to win a quarters and he has to win the semis. And he has to get to that final. Actually, it might be three.
Yeah, three because they're not going to
He
win a
has to
champ.
win three. Yeah, he has to win three. Three at a minimum.
Ooh.
I
See, now we're getting to the territory of like of March Madness. Like March Madness is so random, but there's so many
mhm.
coaches just like don't have that have had unsuccessful tenures that to where like all the fans and the administrations are like, okay, we need to see results in March, and it's like you're 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 putting a knife on their finger and seeing which way it falls. Like that is like it's such a random way to live, but also
It is, but it's also like it's what matters.
yeah, it's what we've got. So
Hmm.
it's fun, but yeah, I do recognize that it's not necessarily a perfect system.
No,
But, it's what we have.
it's like
So
what you deem successful, but it's also like you like also it could be a nice thing for Ohio State that they slip up now rather than a week later or 2 weeks later. Because I mean, honestly, if they slip up 2 weeks later, their season's over. They slip up now against Michigan. Granted, you don't want to lose to your rival. You never want to lose to your rival. It's your fans have got to live with that for another year. You know, it's like,
let me paint you a little bit more of a grim picture. They lose now and 2 weeks later.
hey, could absolutely. But like right now, where are they sitting now? Like they're probably the best two-loss team.
Georgia.
Yeah, especially if Georgia beats Texas. So they're probably sitting around like at the max they could get is like what, a six seed?
Yeah, maybe
Well,
six.
well, actually, it might be a little bit lower just because of seeding because top four seeds are the automatic bids.
Mhm.
So you're definitely looking at an ACC champion jumping people. You're also looking at a Big 12 champion jumping people as well
I
because Tulane lost, and that kind of eliminates that option.
At this point, it doesn't look like the Big 12 is going to jump anyone. Big 12 champion is probably going to be the 12 seed.
You don't think it's going to be the four seed? Who are
No,
the?
it's going to be
Okay.
Boise.
Oh, yes, it will be Boise. Boise's got to win though. Boise's
Yeah,
got to beat UNLV again.
they've done it once. They can
They
do it again.
have.
We'll get to the pickums.
Yeah, we will.
Uh, I mean, yeah, there's not really much to say other than like we'll see because it didn't happen yesterday. It's not going to happen before the playoff.
Yeah.
Um, and it really does just feel like his entire job is just riding on the playoff right now.
Well, as it should, Ohio State's had this expectation
Yeah,
to
but they've also
be
had
the
really
champion of the Big Ten. Like that is the expectation.
they've also had really really good years in it.
They have. Not denying that.
Yeah, like Urban Meyer when he retired, he won the championship in 2014 when didn't win it the rest of his tenure there.
Hmm.
I don't even think they made. I could be wrong about this actually, but I don't even think they made the national championship game after that. I don't know.
But it's
Uh,
also one of those things where, like, right now, as it stands, I believe the only active coaches to win a national championship is like Kirby Smart and
it's not a lot.
I think it's like two coaches. It's Kirby Smart and Dabo Sweeney. I think that's it.
Yeah, Dabo's actually yeah because Mac Brown just
Yeah, about to
he
say Max Brown's gone, Saban's out, Harbaugh left. Like, there's only two active coaches right now that have won a national championship.
yeah,
So,
and honestly, I think we're gonna get a third this year.
yeah,
I
probably. I
I don't
mean,
Georgia can win it, but I don't
Georgia
see
can win it. I don't think Clemson can.
at this moment in time I don't see Georgia winning. But
Hmm,
I don't know. We'll see. Let's talk about the other games real quick.
yeah,
Uh, Memphis. Actually, we want to talk about the big ones, and then we'll just do the quick
yeah,
ones.
yeah. Go for it.
South Carolina Clemson.
Massive game. I caught the end of that one.
I also caught the end of that one, probably at the
Wow.
same exact time, right after the Louisville game ended.
Oh yeah. Wow.
No cards.
It's so funny that they can lose and then still have a chance of making the playoff. And then on top of that, South Carolina making a bid for themselves to make it into the playoff as well.
They're playing well right now. I'm
They're
not
playing very well.
I'm not opposed to South Carolina making the playoff right now.
I'm
If it
I'm not either.
breaks out, I'm not
Mm.
really am not. I would be upset if Ole Miss or Alabama made the playoff because I just don't think they're good enough this year.
I think at this moment in time, I mean, South Carolina is definitely better than Ole Miss. I think there's a case to be made to look at Alabama and South Carolina, but I wouldn't be hurt either or.
I want to say this. Alabama beat Auburn by 14. That's a 5-7 team that you're beating by 14 at home.
Hmm.
Also, Auburn had the ball in the red zone like 3 times and didn't score. It's
So,
not enough that if those are all field goals, because I think they went for it on fourth down every single time and didn't get it. If you kick field goals in that point, it's not enough for Auburn to beat Alabama.
hmm.
But that brings it to just a 5-point win over a team with a losing record,
Hmm.
home field. Like I just don't think Alabama's that good this year. I
Yeah.
think the transition from Saban to DeBoer is significantly greater than I or anyone thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama losing 3 games a year is that's a lot of games in
I mean,
Tuscaloosa to drop. First year though, it is his first year.
yeah, I believe if I'm not incorrect, I believe they lost 3 games in Saban's first year as well.
Hmm. I
The
see.
the problem is Saban rose the standard so quickly. And
Yeah.
I think Kalen DeBoer will as well. I mean, it's just year one. You have to give them some grace. It's
Hmm.
just that they're not there this year. They're
Hmm.
just not. I don't think they're a playoff team. And so I would be honestly genuinely upset if they made the playoff. Like if they snuck in as the 11, I think A, they're getting waxed. But B, it's just it'd be annoying.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I think right now as it stands, there's definitely 3 SEC teams in Texas, Georgia, Tennessee.
yeah.
Now the question mark is, do any of the 3 lost teams get in? And I would personally put South Carolina at the top, followed by Alabama, and probably Ole Miss, and then A&M.
I think Alabama, Ole Miss, and A&M just don't deserve to be in the playoff. Period.
Uh, yeah.
Especially because I think A&M has 4 losses now, right?
Hmm. Well, it's also like you also have to see like, would you put a South Carolina in over a Miami?
See, that's a tough question because
Miami only has 2 losses, but they're to Syracuse and
well, Syracuse is not bad, but like the more important thing for me is that Miami's 2 losses have come in their last 3 games.
Georgia Tech. Yep.
Those are 2 good teams in my opinion.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Georgia Tech's record is a little misleading because they had uh, Haynes King injured, and so they went like 0-2 or 1-2 with Haynes King out of the lineup. Um, so I mean, I don't think Miami's losses are to bad teams. It's just that they've come so quickly.
Right. And it's in the past 3 weeks, they played themselves out of the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
Clemson's in, and it is SMU as well. So,
but I mean, see, so it's a toss up for me when you say Miami or South Carolina because South Carolina's playing so hot right now.
mhm.
I think they've won 5 in a row.
I think it might be 6, but yeah.
Were they 3-3 at one point?
Let me look. They've won 6.
That's crazy.
They started off their season,
3-3.
yeah, losses to Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU, weeks 3, 5, and 6.
I will. I actually now that I'm thinking about it, no, I would still put Miami over them because I think those are not very good losses.
Yeah.
Like Alabama, Ole Miss aren't terrible losses because those are 2 other 9-3 teams, but I don't think LSU is good. I think LSU has had a very, very, very favorable schedule, and they still went 8-4.
That is another interesting thing though on how like the committee might view like the piece of paper because we both think as far as like an eye test goes, South Carolina is better than Alabama and Ole Miss, right? But Ole Miss and Alabama both beat South Carolina. But this is also just a caveat. We don't even know if they're even going to make it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just they're playing better football right now.
Yeah,
That's what it boils down to for me.
they are.
I mean, Clemson. That's still a heartbreaking loss for Clemson. You lost it because your running back just kind of like
Hmm.
just couldn't catch a ball thrown like, directly his way, and then it got picked off.
Yeah,
Like that, heartbreaking.
it
They
is.
Clemson still could have lost that game. They were probably going to go to overtime if it weren't for that interception.
Probably a kick, yeah. Probably would
Who?
have led to a kick that was quote unquote a gimme. We've seen them be missed before, but probably a gimme.
Yeah. Um.
But South Carolina made a play.
mhm. Other big games. We mentioned it. Miami Syracuse.
Hmm.
You see Fran Brown's celebration after this game.
Yes, I did.
It was
He
fun.
said,
Like Dabo.
Dabo, you can thank me, Dabo, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I got you in.
He did like the soap celebration. I think I love Fran Brown. I think he's awesome. The more I learn about Fran Brown, the more I'm like, this guy's great.
Hmm.
I don't want to have to beat him, but as a Louisville fan, I'm gonna have to root against him at some point.
Yeah,
But
you will.
awesome.
Another
Uh,
big game was Texas A&M.
yeah, yeah. That was
Uh,
the week. Everyone's favorite.
as yeah, as rivalry games are, apparently the PA system for A&M was playing the music in the stadium for as long as possible during Texas's play calling and play clock.
I mean, that was the 13th man right there, and Texas still beat him.
I think it's the 12th man, but
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. The crowd was
Oh,
going.
I see. Yeah, PA. Yeah,
Um,
apologies.
I called it all year long, and I was just wrong. I
Hmm.
really genuinely thought A&M was going to win this game. Um, and that was even with me thinking A&M's not that good. A&M is one of just so many teams in the SEC that I think got extremely favorable schedules.
Hmm.
Um, so honestly, their record probably isn't indicative of how good they are. They're probably more like a 7-5 team this year.
Hmm. You could also make the argument for South Carolina on that one too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and a little bit Texas. I think Texas
A little bit.
they
They just,
now have 2 wins over teams with winning records,
yeah.
and they got destroyed by the only team that was even remotely good on the
Hmm.
schedule.
And they get to play them again.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
another team that gets to play each other again. WKU beat Jacksonville State, and they are rematching again for the conference championship here
yeah.
next week as well.
That is an interesting one. That's funny to me because Tyson Helton, we talked about this last week. Tyson Helton he was rumored to be like the top candidate for the ECU job,
Hmm.
and they lost 2 in a row. They lost one to Liberty, which is like, it's not a bad loss. But before Liberty, they lost one to Louisiana Tech, which Louisiana Tech I think is a losing record this year. That's a bad loss. And so all of a sudden they lose those 2 games in a row. ECU just promotes their interim to the full time head coach, which I don't think that's a good move. But it's neither here nor there. All of a sudden he's not being rumored for head coaching jobs anymore.
Hmm.
Maybe he focuses more. Maybe his
Maybe.
attention wasn't on the team fully.
I see.
I'm not. I'm not saying that definitively. I'm just painting a picture. It very much just could be happenstance.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, they beat what was a red hot Jacksonville State team. They had won prior to this game. They had won 8 in a row, and the majority of those 8 wins were in blowout fashion. I mean, they were rolling through teams.
Yeah.
Now they're going to rematch because of the way it breaks out. This game that they played on Saturday, it was at Western. It was at
Mm.
WKU in Bowling Green. But because Jacksonville State has a better record in conference, they're now going to play at Jacksonville
On Friday.
on Friday. Is it on Friday?
It's a Friday night game.
Weird. I mean, high school football must be over, so why not?
It's actually not, funny enough.
Yet?
It's not over yet. I think the
How?
championship is this Saturday, April, Kentucky.
For the state of Kentucky?
Yeah.
You know who's playing?
I can look if you really want to know. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
While you look it up, I'll go through the other games. Memphis beat Tulane pretty handily. Um, a little bit of a shocker. Tulane might have been looking ahead because they were already guaranteed a spot in the American Championship. But that kind of takes Tulane out of contention for the playoff. They're not going to make it anymore. Georgia Tech lost to Georgia in 8 overtimes. Oh my God. Georgia Tech was also up 17-0 at
Mhm.
halftime. Um, I I called Georgia Tech winning this close. Um, but I mean, I think Georgia Tech's going to be scary next year. Haynes King has one last year of eligibility left. Brent Key is like he's a rah rah coach who can actually coach. So that's a scary combination. The future is bright for Georgia Tech, but man, that's one that they would have liked to have had.
And the Kentucky State Championship is this Saturday for the 6A. It is the Raiders of Ryle County playing Trinity High School.
That's not going to be close, is it?
I don't know. Can't really comment on it. I have not tracked my alma mater this year.
I can't imagine that'll be close.
We'll see. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, Other games, Louisville just absolutely brought it to Kentucky.
oh, it never felt so good.
It was beautiful. It was glorious. The Governor's Cup is back in its home city. I mean, here's the thing: the all-time series, Kentucky leads it by 4 games. But if you're going the modern series, Louisville is actually up by 2, and that's despite just coming off of a 5-game losing streak, which is the longest in the series.
Yeah, it was
Modern.
pretty rough there.
Um, ooh,
It was a 3-point spread game.
yeah. So, Louisville's been favored the last 3 matchups,
That
and here's
that would make sense.
should have won last year. In all honesty, I think Louisville's the better team. If you watch that game, just lost some momentum at the end.
But yeah,
Uh,
finally got away with it. Got it
Notre Dame.
done.
I mean, can you call it escaped? I don't know if you can call it escaped. Notre Dame beat USC by 2 touchdowns.
Yep. Wasn't an escape. No, I wouldn't say so.
It was a close game. They pulled away. It
Yeah,
was a close game for most of it, but
but
they pulled.
still, very high scoring. A lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Arkansas got close to beating Missouri. There was a fight at the end of that game, like there were many games.
Mini games. A lot of planting flags too.
NC State beat North Carolina. There was a fight at the end of that game, like there were many games. Louisville, Kentucky. There was a very sad fight at the end of that game.
Really?
Yeah, do you not remember that?
I was working.
Oh, JJ Weaver just like clocked guy just because he was frustrated.
Mm,
And then, I mean, it was just like a pathetic fight. It was like, okay, you guys have lost. Like, relax. Um, but yeah, there were a lot of fights. A lot of fights.
hmm.
Games. Let's move on to the news, shall we?
Let's do it.
Bit of a quick one. Iowa State. Iowa State has their first ever 10-win season.
They do.
Yep, they won Farmageddon. Um, which I don't
And
remember if they called that one or not. I mean, it's literally.
mm,
But with that, they're now 10-2 on the season, which is the first time that they've won 10 games. Indiana also won 10 games for the first time ever this season. That leaves Vandy as the only team in Power Conference football to never get 10 wins in a single season.
hmm. And coming off a bowl eligible 6-6.
Yeah,
But yeah,
things are looking up for Vandy, but I mean,
and Iowa State also has a chance to go 11-2.
they have a chance to go to the playoff.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing Arizona State for that final playoff spot, probably.
Hmm. They are.
I personally think Arizona State's a little bit of a better team. I think they're more rounded.
We'll get to the pick'ems.
Yeah, yeah. Iowa State has a really good defense, though.
Hmm.
Vandy, though, I mean, it was a fun story, but like they're kind of just a whatever team.
I mean, as far as we can tell, I don't see Vandy having a 10-win season anytime soon. Just partly because of the conference they're in, and partly because it's Vandy.
We'll
Like
see.
they are a bottom feeder of the SEC, traditionally speaking. They
But
may not be bottom feeding at the moment, but
if Kentucky got to 10-win seasons, I think Vandy can.
I mean, like to give you an idea, we are basically saying there was only three teams that went 10-2. All three of them in the SEC, all three of them are going to the playoff. That is the expectation that we are putting on Vanderbilt to get a 10-win season. Is they have to be a playoff team.
I don't think it's impossible.
I think it's very improbable.
Yeah, but like I think we've seen it. The schedule just kind of has to break your way in a given season. You know?
Can you also believe it that just a little side note here, just looking at the SEC standings, only three teams in the SEC are not bowling this year, and that would be Auburn, Kentucky, and Mississippi State
I mean, the thing is to you literally just have to win 4 games
out of conference. Yeah.
in in conference
Hmm.
if you go undefeated out of conference. Um, which Auburn actually went 4-4 in the SEC.
They did.
I think the problem is that they lost
Auburn, no, Auburn went 2-6.
2-6 in the SEC. Oh
They went 2-6.
no, because they lost. They lost to Cal.
They went two and
So
six in conference.
I think Auburn went 3-5 in conference.
I'm looking at it. They went 2-6.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Um,
5-7. Sorry, I did my math wrong.
yeah, yeah.
Right, they did.
Mhm.
Um, oh wait, no, actually, I did my math wrong again. You do only have to win 2 conference games to go bowling in the SEC as of
You
now.
do because Oklahoma did it. They went 2-6 and they are 6-6.
Yeah,
They won 4 games out of conference
you can suck and
and
still
still
bowl
go bowling. Hmm.
because they only play 8 conference games.
That is correct.
To be fair, the ACC also only plays 8 conference games. I think they should go to 9.
Hmm.
But
But also, there's a little bit of a caveat there in the sense of like not all, but a decent portion of ACC teams play Notre Dame.
yeah, there's that scheduling agreement.
So there is a decent portion of them
Yeah,
do play Notre Dame.
4 teams a year are going to play Notre Dame.
Right.
Actually, I think
So it's like
they've increased it over the years.
Notre Dame is not a conference team, but
Football,
right, but it's like they're a conference, it gives that.
they're an affiliate.
Exactly. It's like an asterisk.
Yeah. Other news: it's the firing season.
Yeah.
Uh, so here are the big ones. We talked about North Carolina last week. A lot of people thought that there weren't going to be any Power Four openings. Like I saw a lot of like people on CBS saying like I don't think there's going to be any because I think all these schools have to pay for the 22 million
Mm,
that is expected to come down the pike. Which, by the way, that lawsuit hasn't been resolved yet. Like they haven't renegotiated the settlement yet, and they have until January. They've got like a month to do it.
oh wow.
So the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, Purdue fired Ryan Walters, and Neil Brown fired West Virginia. Also, Gus Malzahn resigned at Central Florida to be the offensive coordinator at Florida State,
Mm.
which worked out wonderful for uh, Ohio State.
How
Um,
long was Ryan Walters at Purdue for? 2 years?
it's 2 years, and he was a disaster. Like I'm very as a non-Purdue fan, I'm very much in favor of this firing
I mean,
because
he went 4-8 and 1-11.
yeah, in that order. So
Mm-hmm.
they were getting worse.
Yep.
And that's also that 4-8 is coming off of uh, a year where they went to the Big Ten championship game. So
Mm-hmm.
like the in the 2 years before and after Jeff Brom's time at Purdue, um, Purdue only won 5 games in each of those 2 years spans. Terrible,
Yeah.
just awful.
All right.
But I
It-
I will say I think Here's what I think Purdue should do. I don't know if here's what they will do, but here's what I think they should do. I think they should hire Brian Brom, and then Brady Allen could follow Brian Brom back to Purdue. It just makes sense in my head
It, I think you got to weigh your options and see what's out there.
for Purdue.
I don't know. You never know what's going to be available. But
I
it's an interesting idea to bring back a Brom.
look if you want to return to the glory days, just 3 years ago.
You
If
want
um,
you want the backup Brom? That's what you want?
you want the backup Brom, the Brom that's not even calling plays.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just what I think.
I gotcha. Also, the Neil Brown one, he it's the definition of mediocre.
Yeah.
He went 37 and 35, finished the year 6-6 this year. Um, his worst season was 5-7. His best was last year at 9-4.
And last year just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. Finished the season, and it was 8-4 because they won a bowl game. So it's like,
They were expected to be really bad last year, and they just kind of popped out of nowhere and had this 8-4 year, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool, his job is saved." And
mm-hmm.
they just did not in any way live up to expectations this
Yep.
season. So
It's
yeah, that one's kind of just like okay.
yeah, definition of mediocre. So do you have any other firings that you think?
Do I think that I think will happen or should happen?
Sure, both. Because I thought there was a question that you asked. Yeah, are there?
Um, the firings that I think will happen, I think it's just one, and I think Ryan Day is done.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I think they win a game or two in the playoff, and I don't know if that's enough to save his job.
So what I did with this question is I decided to go down and try to do like one coach from each Power Four-ish five conference, Power Four conference that I felt either they might be looking at the axe this season or if they don't turn around next season. I have a couple of coaches that have had long tenures, and then the rest of them are like 2 years, 1 year coaches. So like the first one is pretty obvious. First year, Jeff Lebby. Mississippi State, it was god awful. They were 2-10.
Yeah, but they looked better than they did last year. They were more competitive than they were last year.
I know.
I don't think I don't think he should be on the chopping block after
I,
like two.
I agree. I agree. I don't think he's chopped yet, but if he does this again next year, he's done.
I don't think so. I don't think he
He
should.
does 2-10 jobs and you're not gonna chop him?
It depends. Well, first off, you are literally one of the bottom feeder jobs in the SEC. That's a difficult job.
It is.
Like it's a difficult job to take any bottom feeder and make them good. And so I don't know. You have to give them time,
Mm.
especially because even if they go 2-10 next year or 3-9, if they're still competitive, it's like okay, just keep at it. See if something changes in year three. If they go 2-10 again, but they're competitive, it doesn't matter. You know, after 3 years it's of that, you gotta let them go. But I don't know. I think it's 2 years would be too early in my opinion.
All right. Here's another one. Hugh Freeze, second season. He's 11 and 14 overall.
I'm a little surprised they didn't fire you, Freeze. In all honesty.
So Hugh Freeze is his second year at Auburn. He's 11 and 14. They have not gone bowling. It's interesting. And then my final one, which I think is a little bit interesting. Mark Stoops. Hear me out on this one. Mark Stoops, their last bowl win was 2021. He is now sitting at his 11th season at Kentucky. He is 66 and 67 at Kentucky. He has a negative record now
Yeah.
after that loss to Louisville.
Yep.
He's also gotten Kentucky to a spot now to where they're not like they're mediocre. He's the best coach Kentucky has ever had.
Second best.
Right. But like, can they take him and find another coach that could take him to another level?
Yes.
So that's another one that,
The answer is yes. They could absolutely right now, literally right now, if they fired Stoops, they could get a better coach.
and I think he's here's the interesting thing about Stoops in Kentucky. Kentucky has become, from when he took it over 11 years ago to now, he's taken it from a bottom feeder to an interesting spot in the SEC. But
He's
it's been nothing more than that, though.
he's taken it from a bottom feeder to limbo, and things are only getting harder for Stoops now that divisions are gone. I
Yeah,
mean, they were lucky that they got the East, which was the significantly easier half of the SEC.
it's an interesting one to think about. All right,
Here, so with Stoops and with Hugh Freeze, you got to give him a year where he has a quarterback that can actually throw the ball.
but it's also on him to get that quarterback.
Yeah, but get
But if I had good players, I would win games. Sure, but you have to get the good players.
okay, but he's also only been there for 2 years. You have to give people time to get good
Oh,
players.
I agree. I agree. Like I think there's a 3-year rule within coaches. Like if they can't figure it out by year three, or
I
at
don't think
least like not figure it out, but like at least have like a positive impact by year three. Like you gotta be bowling by 3 in 3 years. You gotta be bowling.
I I mean,
You have to
yeah,
win 2 games in the SEC. You have to go bowling. You
I
have
don't
to schedule 4 cupcakes, win 2 in the SEC. You
I
gotta at least be bowling.
I don't think it's a hard and fast rule though, because like Ryan Walters, he deserved to be fired. He was
Oh
terrible.
no, no, absolutely. All right.
But also, Stoops was a recruiter, and that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can absolute John Summerall is literally a Kentucky alum,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a great X's and O's coach. So if they fired Stoops, they could get Summerall and be better right now. But the problem is they're not going to fire Stoops.
Mm-hmm. All right. I got 3 more. So we did the SEC. Now we're going to the other major 3 conferences. All right. We've got the Big 12. Scott Satterfield.
Okay.
He is 6-10 through his second season.
Yeah. He
I
also
mean,
5 straight to end this year.
yeah. Um, I don't see it improving. I've seen what a Scott Satterfield team looks like on the field. It's it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
And fans already don't like him after year one.
Yeah.
They let him stick around for year two. I'm surprised this man still has a job.
They can't afford to fire him yet.
I hear you. The next one, Big Ten. I hate to say this because I like the guy, but Luke Fickell is 13-13 through his 2 seasons at Wisconsin. It's not exactly the most eye-popping thing you get after leaving where Satterfield's at now in Cincinnati and making it to the playoff as a 4-team playoff to now being mediocre. And your first year was with divisions.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming into a mediocre Wisconsin team.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's trying to completely. I don't know if he's still going to because they fired Phil Longo, but he was trying to completely change the offensive identity that Wisconsin had always had, and also the identity that Luke Fickell coach teams have always had.
Yeah.
Trying to come in and have this like more pro style, like pass heavy offense.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have the quarterbacks. Uh, or it seemed like they didn't have the quarterback once they benched Tyler Van Dyke, who
Mm-hmm.
actually has potential. He just didn't work out. Once they benched Van Dyke, they got significantly better. They also just ended the year on a really bad stretch. I think you got to give Bickle a little more time, see what he does next year. But
Mm. All right. My last one, ACC. Similar to Mark Stoops. He's in season 9.
Dave Doran,
Dave Clawson
Dave Clawson. Okay,
of Wake Forest.
all right. I don't know if I.
He's 67-67, dead even through 9 seasons. Their last good season was when they started off 8-0 in 2021. It's been 3 years of mediocrity now.
Did they
At
start
what
8-0,
They started off 8-0 in 2021.
and then we turned him over 6 times in a quarter?
Yeah,
That was a great game.
but all I'm trying to get at is like they have not gone bowling since 2021. Like
Who did
not to,
in 2022, right?
I don't believe so, but I'll double check.
I think they did because I think they had, um, yeah, I think they did because they had what's his face, Sam Hartman.
Oh, yeah. Well, 2021 they made the division championship. They lost to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's what I think about Clawson. Wake Forest is like the most for it's up there with like Boston College as like the
it's a
most
j-
forgettable power conference school.
it's a job.
It's it is a job. It's the most forgettable power conference school. Um, it's not like you're in a good recruiting area. Um, but like it's not a super easy job, especially because you're the fourth biggest university in your state. In your state. Like that's crazy. If you want to add the Carolinas to that,
Yeah.
you're
My apologies. They went 11-3 in 2021. They went 8-5 in 2022, but they went 3-5 in ACC. Last year they went 4-8, 1-7 in the ACC. This year they went 4-8, 2-6 in the ACC.
I think you got to give them more time. I think you have to because it's a hard place to win, and he had a long stretch there doing really well
Mm-hmm.
at a very difficult place to play. I thought you were going to say Dave Doran because Dave Doran is just super mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dave Clawson has done the best with the the level of facilities and stature of the program and everything that he has at Wake Forest. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think Wake Forest is annoying. I think Dave Clawson's annoying, but I don't think he's a bad coach. Just just saying.
I got you.
You want to hear my coaches?
Yeah.
I only have four. And one of them might surprise you. I can't remember his name, his first name, but Brennan at Arizona.
He just started.
Yeah, I know, and he sucks.
But Jeff Levy's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because here's the reason. Jeff Levy took over a garbage team, and they're more competitive than they were last year. Brennan came into uh also also Jeff Levy left Oklahoma. He was their offensive coordinator last year. He left Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense sucked this year. They were terrible without Levy. It wasn't just without Levy, but they were also just his absence was noticeable. Brennan left San Jose State, a school where honestly he didn't do that good. I at the time I was like, this is a weird hire. He didn't do that good at San Jose State. Came into Arizona, where Arizona finished the year last year as the hottest team in the country. They finished 10-3. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're incredible." When Jed Fish left, pretty much no one followed Jed Fish from Arizona to Washington. So it was very much like, okay,
His
Brennan's got
name-
a
his first
ready-made
name's Brent.
Brent Brennan. I knew it was some alliteration. Uh, Brent Brennan literally had a ready-made team in Arizona with a ton of talent. He had Noah Fafita. He had one of the best receivers in the country in Tedero McMillan. And they were awful this year. They were awful. They finished the year, I think, 4-8. They were
They
not
were.
they were not good at all.
They were 4-8, 2-7 in the Big 12.
They were terrible. And also San Jose State is better this year than they were last year with Brennan as their coach.
It is an interesting hire because he is at San Jose State, he basically went 7-5, 7-6.
I think he needs to go. I think he
Okay.
I think he sucks.
All right.
In the ACC, I've got Tony Elliott. I
I
know
mean, yeah.
they were a game away from bowling, but the reason, in my opinion, is that they had Anthony Calandria, who is he's a dynamic quarterback that can keep you in a game. Calandria just hit the portal. He's not there anymore. Virginia's going to suck next year. They're going to
He's
go
11
right.
and 23.
Yeah, they're going to go right back to sucking next year.
3 and 7, 3 and 9, 5 and 7. That is you're not bowling in 3 years. That is it is bad. To be
They are.
fair, this year they did win one more game in conference than they did the last couple of games. He's increased the win total in the ACC. Went 1 and 6, 2 and 6, now 3 and 5.
Yeah, and they also won two more games overall.
Mm-hmm. So there is improvement, but they're scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point when you start it.
Yeah. Um, my other coach that I think so this is predicated off of I just read the stat recently that this team for the third time in the last 4 years
Uh-huh.
is the only FBS win for a team in FBS like of their entire season. 3 years ago it was Arizona. 2 years ago it was Colorado. This year it was Florida State. That team is Cal, and that coach is Justin Wilcox.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really realize because so the Pac-12 was the best conference of football last year, and Cal was a competitive 6-6, and so I was like, oh man, Wilcox did a pretty solid job. I thought that they were going to be better than 6-6 in the ACC because the ACC this year is not as good as the Pac-12 was last year. I thought they were going to be like an 8-4 team, and they were competitive in a lot of their games. But the thing is, they lost. Same thing last year. They lost a lot of close games, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I don't think Justin Wilcox is a good enough coach. I think they need to upgrade at coach. I don't know exactly. Actually, I know who I would go for. I would get rid of him. And I would go after Barry Odom. But I think they can do better than Justin Wilcox. I just don't think he's good enough. And then my final coach, it hurts a little bit because I think he has done an okay job. He seems very likable, and he's coaching his hometown team. But I think Mike Locksley at Maryland, they're just not really competitive. Like last year was the best team that they had at his time in Maryland, and they went like 6-6, I think. Either seven or
Um,
6.
he's since he went last year he was 8 and 5, won a bowl game. The year before that,
Yes.
8 and 5, won a bowl game, and the year before that, 7 and 6, won a bowl game.
Yeah, they're just so mediocre. And this year they took a step back
They
with
did.
an exciting young quarterback in MJ Morris. I just, I don't know. Maybe you give him more time, but like the Big Ten is so bad that there is opportunity to rise up
I
the
mean,
ranks.
1 and 8 in Big Ten play is really bad.
There's opportunity to rise up the ranks that he's just not taking.
To give you an idea, Maryland finished 17th this year in the Big Ten.
Yeah, in a bad Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
In a bad Big Ten. That's just I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
like the guy. I like his story. I like that he's coaching his hometown team. He's just not getting done.
Yeah.
All right. Final coaching news because it's a rumor, but is a credible rumor.
Rumors.
Yeah. Marcus Freeman has been linked to the Chicago Bears head coaching job.
The Bears.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Why? If he can't do it in college,
Yeah. Here's the thing.
like he's
I don't think he's actually linked to the job.
like
His agent is Jimmy Sexton,
mm,
he's the guy that gets everything
trying to
done.
get a new contract for his client.
Exactly. If I were Notre Dame's athletic director and either Marcus Freeman or Jimmy Sexton came into my office and was like, "The Bears want Marcus Freeman. The Bears want Marcus. What do you? Here's what we're.
Um,
What do you
there's
guys?"
there's the door. I mean, like
I would literally be like, "Okay." Hate to see you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would watch my coach not leave, and I wouldn't pay him extra money. That's exactly what would happen. Because here's the thing: if this is real and he does leave, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna upgrade a coach.
Yeah, you are.
So
Also, Notre Dame is like a very desirable job.
yeah, hell, you could get Brian Kelly back if you wanted.
Okay.
Yeah. A hiring news that was not coach. Stanford has hired Andrew Luck to be their GM of football.
They have.
And that's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. He's a really smart guy. He
Very smart. It'd be interesting to see what role he fits in the capacity. It's also starting to be this trend of we're getting front offices in college sports now.
I'm in favor of it. In all honesty, I
I
think it's
mean, it makes sense with money coming in.
yeah. Um, I don't know. He strikes me as the mold of like those like young GMs in the NFL that are like everyone says like, oh my god, they're a genius.
Hmm.
They got a mathematics degree from Columbia or whatever. Um, I mean Stanford Luck was not Stanford. Andrew Luck. Stanford Luck. Andrew Luck was he was an architect before this. Literally, he went from being an NFL quarterback to he was an architect,
Okay.
and now I guess he's moving back to California.
Now he's an architect for a Stanford football team.
Yes. Um. Also, I mean, he's one of like the like NFL scouts. They always bring up the same three names of the best quarterback prospects that anyone has ever seen going into the NFL draft. It's John Elway, Andrew Luck, and Trevor Lawrence. They always say
One
they're
of
the
w-
three best quarterbacks.
one of those things don't belong there.
I know Trevor Lawrence has not really lived up to his billing. I'm saying that those are the three people that everyone always brings up as like I've never seen a better like quarterback prospect than those three.
Yeah,
Just repeating what others have said.
I got you.
But I don't know. I think it's a really good hire. I think it's a forward thinking hire.
It is.
It's fun. But we got some basketball news.
Let's do basketball. I've been in a basketball fever right now.
Oh my god, I watched so much basketball this past week.
I've been loving basketball recently, man.
Yeah. It's Feast Week. I mean, Feast Week is the best.
What's not to love?
You've got basketball like every day from like noon to 2 a.m. It's
And
awesome.
it's like good games. It's
Or
not like
fun.
nobody playing top somebody blow out by 40 points.
Yeah, it's like fun non-conference matchups that you don't get a lot. You know,
Mm-mm. And it's
they're
neutral site too.
yeah, it's
It's
a lot.
great.
Now, of course, um, I mean, do we talk about the biggest story that came out of this, or do
What
we
is the
talk?
biggest story?
It's UConn.
Really?
UConn 0-3 in Maui.
Losing to Memphis, Colorado, and
Dayton,
State.
and they lost to Dayton by like 18 points.
Ooh,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. UConn just doesn't look good.
they are not the team that is contending for a national championship.
I mean, I think I said this
Hmm.
whenever whenever UConn was whenever Dan Hurley was flirting with the Lakers. Um, I was like, okay, if he's gone from the Lakers, they're not a top 25 team because I mean, I look at that roster and I'm like, it's
There's
okay.
nothing as I mean, they lost everything from last year.
And I'm like, the roster's okay, but like
They
Dan,
retained one starter,
yeah, Dan Hurley is. Did they retain a starter? Oh
Alex
yeah,
Carabano.
Caravan. I forgot. I
Caravan, yeah,
um like yeah, Dan Hurley's the reason anyone's giving that team any respect. And like
as they should.
the thing is, it's like Caravan. Are we seeing that like maybe he wasn't as good as we thought, and he just
he excelled on a team because of other people, I think.
He excelled on a team with two lottery picks that are currently two of the best rookies in the NBA right now.
Klingon's a really good rookie right now.
So Castle's also really, really
I
good.
know Stephon Castle's been phenomenal for Spurs. I'm just saying Klingon's done well.
Klingon's probably like a top five rookie. He's
Hmm.
he's he's not like top three.
Mm. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. It's Dalton Connect, Jarrett McCain, Castle.
Yes, those are like the top three. They've played each of those three have played very, very good.
Yep.
And the thing is, Caravan had two guys that are playing really well in the NBA right now, considering that they're
Well, not
rookies.
even that. Like Tristan, that backcourt of Tristan Newton and Cam Spencer
Cam
were
Spencer.
like those guys were really good.
Um,
He retained the worst starter of the team. I don't think that's a hot take to say.
either, yeah,
And also, I think it goes to show how good that team was last year.
yeah. And so also Aiden Mahaney, who a lot of people said was like a top 10 transfer.
He was a good transfer from St. Mary's, I think.
A lot of people, well, a lot of people were really, really high on him. They were like, oh, he's like a top 10 guy in the transfer portal. Um, now that Aiden Mahaney is at UConn and everyone had such high expectations with him because they're like, oh, this really good player is going to play with Dan Hurley. He's been awful.
Yeah.
He's been bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I know literally UConn has only played 7 games, but they're sitting at 4-3 right now.
Yeah.
And they lost the teams that they lost to in Maui, Memphis. They have good talent every year, you know. But it's like how much can talent outshine coaching? And if you watch that game, if you watch Memphis any year, they play like people imagine how NBA players play. It's
Mm.
nothing but ISO ball. It's nothing but insurance fraud offense. Like literally the whole time they're just like trying to draw a foul and they just like drive at you. And the thing is, it's such lazy, uncreative, easy to scheme against offense. But UConn couldn't stop them every single time. PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Maxey just drove right by people
Mm-hmm.
every single time. And then the next game against Colorado's not that good this year. Colorado, Colorado literally had 3 people get drafted, and they're just significantly worse. And they're just they lost to Colorado. Like Colorado's not that good. And then
Colorado is not very good, no.
Yeah, Dayton, who is actually significantly better than I thought they would because they lost their top 2 guys. I thought Dayton was going to suck. No, Dayton looks like they've held their own. They got killed by Dayton. They lost by 18 points. It's like something is seriously wrong right now. UConn. I don't know if it can get fixed. I mean, Dan Hurley's a really, really good coach. You have to imagine it can get fixed.
But also Dayton, I don't think is a bad team. I think Dayton's a good team though.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Dayton is much better than I thought they were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They were up huge on UConn, or not UConn, UNC, and blew that lead. They played a really, really close game against, was it Iowa State that they played, or Michigan State?
Which team? Sorry.
Dayton.
Dayton played.
Whoever their second game was, they also played a really close game, but lost.
Dayton lost to North Carolina by 2.
Yeah,
Lost by 5 to Iowa State,
Iowa State. That's who it is.
and then beat the brakes off of Connecticut.
Yeah. So I don't like the last team to win back-to-back national championships in basketball. They went to the NIT the next year.
I'm not, UConn's not an NIT team. They're definitely a tournament team, but I definitely think there's a case to be made where they won't win the Big East this year.
You have to win games to be a
I
tournament team.
mean, right. I mean, right now I think like Marquette and St. John's are better.
Look, I'm just saying that UConn has played 7 games,
Hmm.
played 3 games against teams with a pulse, and they've lost all 3.
Yep.
And I don't think the road is getting any easier for UConn,
No, it is not. We'll see what they do. They play Baylor at home next on Wednesday.
which that's a rough one.
It is.
Baylor has talent. Baylor has a good coach.
Baylor's
Baylor,
also looked shaky from what we thought they were as a top 10 team. I don't think they're that.
yeah, I think Baylor has to. I think Baylor's got to work out some of the kinks.
I
You
mean,
know,
they did beat St. John's.
yeah, they did. Um, they also, uh,
They also beat Arkansas.
I will say that yeah, but I think Arkansas kind of sucks. Um, their St. John's victory was literally like a crazy buzzer beater.
It was
Yeah, but
double overtime.
I don't know. Baylor and UConn are two teams that both need to figure things out, but I think have enough talent to be good.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
The other ones, the other big ones. Tennessee won the Baja Mar, uh,
Hmm.
and I mean, talking about Baylor, they were up like 30 points at halftime against Baylor. I mean, they just oh,
Tennessee,
Tennessee looks incredible.
the only issue I have with Tennessee so far is who have they really played as like a top team? They've only been tested by Baylor and Louisville. Everyone and as much as I love Louisville, I think there is definitely a significant gap between Louisville and like the top teams, as we've seen clearly against Tennessee.
Louisville also beat Indiana by 30.
I also just don't think Indiana's that good. I think
I
Indiana is the definition of having everything on paper, but then not having any coaching.
Yeah, but then
They have size, speed, shooting. They have it all.
they also beat West Virginia, who beat Gonzaga.
Yeah.
That's a really good win. They played really close against an Oklahoma team that oh, let's get to Oklahoma because they won the battle for Atlantis. Oklahoma looks really good.
Yeah.
They have a stingy defense, and Jeremiah Fears, oh my god, that dude. I mean, he's a lottery pick, and he's only 17.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Fears is incredible.
He is very good.
Yeah, Oklahoma looks really, really good. Auburn looks even better. My God.
Janai Broome might be the best player in the country right now.
Yeah, I think he's gonna win Player of the Year.
Yeah.
At this pace, he's going to win Player of the Year. It was a really good weekend, honestly, for the SEC in basketball.
Hmm.
Really good weekend for the SEC. Uh, um, I mean, is there any other takeaways you want to have from these MTEs?
Florida looks really good. Florida went into the ESPN events, which I believe it was like Wichita State and Wake Forest they played.
Yeah,
To be fair, not the greatest of teams, but they won 75 to 58 and 88 to 51. Like they didn't even like it wasn't games.
so Wichita State was actually close, and then they went on a 27-0 run.
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
but it was also early that run was. Like it was like 50 to 20 something and just kept it.
Yeah, no, it will. Um, the runs spanned the first half to the second half.
Right.
Uh, here's my only hang up with Florida. Is Todd Golden going to be there? Because
What do you
the allegations that he's dealing with are some rough allegations.
They are, but they're playing good ball right now.
I know, but is he going to be there at the end of the year? Because once this Title IX investigation wraps up, how
I
can
don't know.
how can you justify having him on
I
there?
also think there's an argument to be made that Iowa State could be the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah,
Like it's probably them, Kansas, or Houston as it stands. I think it's a three hit.
Houston. Houston's been disappointing this year.
I don't know though, because it's like they played every game close.
They played tough games, yeah, but they're not the same team.
No, they're not. I mean, every close game that every team that has been a team they've lost. So I mean, like they lost to Auburn by 5. They've lost to Alabama by 5 in overtime, and they also lost to San Diego State by 3 in overtime.
Which San Diego State. It's nice to see them still be.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess I will. I'm a little worried about Houston. It's not the same thing as UConn though, because Houston was they were up on Auburn,
Mm-hmm.
and then Auburn won it late. And Auburn looks like the best team in the country.
They do.
Um, I don't know. It's early in the season. We'll see. Um, I don't know. If
Mm-hmm.
you got anything else, we got. If you don't have anything else, sorry. We've got one more bit of fun little news, and then our pickums.
Go for it.
All right, the fun little news is, you know me, you know what I love,
You
and I
love
love
losers.
I love losers. Coppin State has the longest losing streak in the country. If you don't know who Coppin State is, if you've never heard of this school before, they are located in Baltimore, Maryland. Coppin State played Louisville last year. I went to that game. I watched them live. I don't think I've ever seen a worse team than Coppin State. Genuinely. I'm not exaggerating. Like a worse like collegiate basketball team. I don't think I've ever seen a worse team. Louisville won that game, and this is Kenny Payne Louisville, by the way. Louisville won that game by 20 points. And it's not because they played well against Coppin State. They gave Coppin State open layup after open three after open like driving lane, and they just blew 20 wide open shots. Like 10 to 20 shots, somewhere in that range, that were wide open. They just missed. And I was like, oh, this is the worst team I've ever seen play basketball.
Yeah.
Well, Coppin State is currently on a 21 game losing streak, which is the longest in the country. It's the longest in the country.
They do have
They have a Division two team on their schedule, but
they
that
do.
it's not a guarantee that they're going to win.
I mean, tonight they do. They have a chance. They play Loyola, Maryland at home.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a rough one. Look, here's the thing. The longest losing streak of all time is 41, and
Hmm.
set the record from 2010 to 2011. Uh, I guess it was those calendar years, but it was over the span of 2 seasons. Um, if Coppin State loses out this season, they will lose 43 games.
Yeah.
So if they lose out, they'll get the record for the longest losing streak in history. And I don't think that is unrealistic.
No, it's not.
Because again, I watched that Coppin State team last year. That is the worst team I have ever seen play basketball on a collegiate level in my entire life.
Yeah.
So bad. This this is something we'll be monitoring
We
closely.
will be monitoring it.
God, it's so funny. I feel bad for these guys. I think once they get that win, it'll be cathartic. But my God, it's it's just crazy that it's possible that they could go 0 and 30 or 0 and 31,
They
whatever.
could, yeah.
All right, on to the pickums.
Uh,
It's conference championship week,
hmm.
so that's what we've got. We got conference championship games. We've talked about a lot of them, and now we're gonna pick them.
Let's do it.
Off with we got Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State.
A rematch from last week or 2 days ago.
Do you know the statistics actually in college football for rematch games? The team that won the first game has an over like an overwhelming majority of the time has won the second game as well.
Mm,
That being said, I'm going to take Jacksonville State.
I'm right there with you.
I think they only lost by 2
Hmm.
to Western Kentucky, and they lost at Bowling Green. This
That
one's
is
going to
correct.
be in Jacksonville, and
Hmm.
I think it's going to give them the edge. So yeah, we both got the Gamecocks.
Hmm.
Next up, this is a playoff game.
Yeah.
This is a playoff game. The winner of this game will go to the playoff. UNLV, Boise State.
Not necessarily, no.
Who could go to the playoff over UNLV?
So it's the top teams. It's not conference. It's not the top conference. It's the top five conference champions.
Yeah, I know. Who could go over UNLV if they win? Who could go over them?
Army. Army's one loss to Notre Dame.
No, Army's not getting it. The committee has set it up to where it's one of these two teams.
I don't think so.
Yes, they have.
I don't think so, though.
There is literally not a world where a different group of five representative makes it other than these
I
two.
think there can be. I
I don't,
definitely think there's a situation where that can happen.
I don't think there is.
Like if UNLV wins this game, good on them. They won the game, right? It knocks out Boise State, a two-loss team in
Yeah.
a. But then Army, if they win, they have a one loss, with their one loss being the Notre Dame. Other than that, they have clean swept the entire thing. I think there's a case to be made where Army will jump UNLV.
There's a case to be made, but it's not going to happen.
We'll see.
The committee sets these things up in advance. They're setting this up. Only a Mountain West team is going to go to the playoff.
I don't. I
I
would.
I could put $1 million down that I don't have. Only UNLV or
If
Boise.
if Army beats Tulane and UNLV beats Boise, I definitely think there's a case to be made where Army gets in.
No, like in reality or like actual like merit.
Yes.
Which one? Reality or merit?
Yes.
Reality or merit?
The answer to that question is yes. It's
Okay,
not an
but
either or, it's a yes.
he doesn't have a chance to make the playoff.
I don't
They,
see why they wouldn't be.
because the committee does this. They set this up.
I'm just telling you, if UNLV beats Boise and it's a close game,
And UNLV's in.
and Army beats Tulane, Army should probably get the nod.
It probably isn't what's going to happen.
It's I'm gonna give my take on it, and you can pretend like you know the future.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
Get out of here.
No.
But with that being said, I'm picking Boise State in this game.
So am I.
Okay.
All right. Tulane Army.
Yeah,
I take Tulane.
I'm picking Tulane too.
So you don't even think it's going to happen.
I'm just saying in a world where that happens, I think Army should get in over UNLV though.
Should, but they're not going to.
You don't know that.
Dude, the committee does this every single year. Every year the committee.
This is what I think, and I'm giving my opinion on a podcast.
Okay. Vince. Okay. Big 12. Big 12. I personally think that the Big 12 is being underrated this year.
Hmm.
It's on a very, 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 very similar playing field to the SEC. Like the SEC is a little better because the teams at the top I think are a little better than the Big 12, but like that like upper middle, I think the Big 12 and the SEC are just right next to each
I
other.
think any of the top three teams in the SEC beat any one of these teams. I think there's a case to be made where an Ole Miss, Auburn, not Auburn, Ole Miss, Alabama, or South Carolina would put up like Iowa State or Arizona could beat those three. But like Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, no.
I think Iowa State or Arizona State could be all
That's the level I think these
could be all
teams are. Okay.
I mean, Tennessee lost to Arkansas, and Arkansas lost to Oklahoma State.
Well, I
When
guess we'll find out once one of these get the bid.
you break it down, losing to Oklahoma State at home, that's one of the worst losses. Actually, I don't
Oh,
know.
it's pretty bad.
It's a god awful loss.
Oklahoma State went winless in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They're a bad team this year,
And then beat Arkansas. So, like,
but it's Arkansas.
I know, I'm just saying Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Arkansas lost to Oklahoma State. That's one of the worst losses in the country. Tennessee lost to them. That's a really bad loss when you
Hmm.
stack it up.
Also beat Georgia though.
All
No,
things,
beat Bama. Misspoke.
yeah, and I think Bama's a playoff team. But anyway, uh, all things considered, I'm going to take Arizona State.
I'm right there with you. I'm taking Arizona State.
I think they're a more balanced team than
Hmm.
I think Iowa State has a great defense. Their offense, um, their offense can be a little anemic at times, but that's what I'm going with. Next up, we have the MACtion, two Ohio teams.
Hmm.
Sunshine. We have Ohio versus Miami of Ohio. Who you got?
I've got Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, I'll take Miami of Ohio as well, just because like I think the MAC does their conference championship games at there's like a host team,
I see. So there's a home field advantage.
but even though Miami of Ohio notoriously has one of the worst home stadiums, like football stadiums in FBS.
Mm,
It's really bad.
gotcha.
But yeah, next up we have Georgia versus Texas. I'm gonna take Georgia.
See, that's interesting. I'm going to take Texas. I think I got two teams on this list in Jacksonville State and Texas who are going to rebound and find ways to win their games that they've lost
Yeah,
previously. It is in the Georgia Dome or whatever it's called, Atlanta Superdome or whatever it's called.
Mercedes Benz
There you go.
because
So
it's
it
not.
is in Atlanta.
It is in Atlanta. Yeah. I'm not even factoring that in to my decision. I just think that Georgia's going to beat Texas. I think Texas has Georgia's actually had one of the toughest schedules in the country, if you look at it, and Texas has kind of skirted by it.
Hmm.
I just think that's going to shine through. I think Georgia's going to beat Texas. Just my opinion, bro.
Bro,
Next up, we have the Sun Belt. We have Marshall versus Louisiana. I'm going to take Louisiana. Uh,
I'm right there with you.
they've been really good this year. Um, Marshall's actually been solid. They had to beat James Madison to make it to this game. Actually, I believe, and that was a highly ranked game, or at least highly ranked as far as like Sun Belt terms, because the both teams were unranked. But yeah, Louisiana.
Gotcha.
ACC, Clemson versus SMU.
I am banking this one off of the fact that my team was able to beat one and not the other. So give me SMU.
I'm also going with SMU, but I think that's just because they're playing really, really good football right now.
They are tearing up teams right now.
I know SMU is another team that kind of got a very favorable schedule, and that's helped them out a
It
lot.
has.
They also look good.
But they also found ways to win when they've had to face decent opponents.
Yeah, with the exception of BYU.
Yep.
I still maintain that's a good loss as far as the resume goes. Um, and then of course our final game, we have Penn State versus Oregon, the Big 12 championship, because Ohio State's not going.
No, they're not.
I mean, I'm gonna take Oregon.
Same.
Like I can't, I don't until I see it. I can't trust Penn State in this spot.
Yeah.
Just can't. I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. So yeah, not as much dissent as we had last week.
No, we are pretty similar except for what Georgia, Texas, and yeah, and I think that's it. Every other one we agree on.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our show.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. We hope you stuck around this long, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.